What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Vanguard Project podcast. Happy freaking Monday. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. This is the final episode of season 2 in 2022. So thank you all for joining in on this crazy adventure. I've been doing this for about a year and a half now, and this is episode 106. And it's crazy to me that I've been able to maintain this long and feel very honored, blessed, and exceptionally fortunate to have interacted with as many people that I have and learn the things that I have, and kind of as I'm hoping to share throughout this episode, some of the things that I've been able to both learn and apply to kind of my daily life. So I just want to say thank you all for the continued ratings, support, messages, listens, follows, the whole kit and caboodle. And I'm excited because I've honestly been avoiding recording this for no reason other than it's just going to be kind of hard, I think, just to kind of regurgitate a lot of what I have learned over the past year and a half and how it's been applied in my life story, I guess you could say. So before we get into it, though, again, I know I've said this already, but I appreciate all you all for listening, reviewing, rating, sending me notes, for my sponsors, for helping me get connected and showing the love and helping me, kind of get some gear and product in my hands that, I would otherwise never have gotten the chance to play with. And I feel super fortunate to have been connected in the ways that I have, coming as a just some dude out of Boise, Idaho, to have, interacted with some crazy people. Just I feel super fortunate and really blessed. So to get into it, today's episode is I don't have an interview lined up. That's not what today's episode is, but really kind of want to reiterate a few things and kind of summarize a few things that I've learned and kind of my life updates, I guess, and how I've applied them in some way, shape, or form. Again, kind of in the purview of my hope with this podcast is really growth through story, strength through community. So I sit down with folks largely in the outdoor space to understand their life stories, to see how they got to where they're at, what they've been doing, how they did it, why they did it a particular way, some of the wins and losses and struggles that they've had, so that you as the listener and me as the interviewer, and often sometimes the listener again, just as I'm editing or whatever, right? That you learn something and can take it back and apply it to your daily life or maybe your situation. So if you're fixing to go into law enforcement or the military or become a photographer or want to get into hunting or, horse-mounted shooting or rodeoing, whatever the case may be, right? That you've got some source that you can come back to listen and see how people got into it and whether or not that's something you feel you might be interested in, let alone having the opportunity to reach out or shadow somebody in that same space. So with that being said, my goal today is really to kind of share some of the things that I've applied, whether directly or indirectly, to my life. Not so much as like a bragging type of thing. That's not what I'm fixing for, but I've been told a couple times, as I started this podcast, that people have an aptitude or are more apt to listen to the actual podcast host themselves, rather than always listening necessarily to interviewees, which I agree and disagree with, right? I mean, my intent is not to talk about me, but that's kind of what I want to share with you guys today is what I've learned and how I've changed, and go from there. So with that being said, I'm going to just kind of start rattling things off. I don't have a structure for this particular podcast, for particular episode, so might be a little scatterbrained, but when it comes to telling stories like this in particular, that's kind of how things go. So you're kind of getting a real version of how I speak, and I swear a lot, so we'll see if I can't tone it down just a little bit. But, this past summer, I did get divorced, right, which was really challenging. Things weren't working. It's okay. And I've been able to really focus on and what it is that I would like to get out of life. I have been able to learn that there is more. I've been told, right, that there is more to life than what, let's just say Boise, because that's where I was at, right, that Boise has for me, right? I can take risks and survive, right? Now I can take calculated risks and it be okay, right? It can be the wise thing to go do. And so that's kind of what I had decided to do. I had been in my career track for about 6 years. I was tired, in all honesty, right? I just didn't feel like I was really going the trajectory I wanted to go. Everything was stable. There was no real risk in anything I was doing. Not to say that having a risk-filled life is a good thing, but it had got to the point of being mundane, I guess you could say. And I didn't really feel like there was anything left to be had in the valley for me. And so I had decided, after the divorce and everything, I'd moved in with my parents who were still in the valley and still are in the valley, right? I moved in with them and kind of just waited, I guess, right? And when I say waited, I was actively waiting in that I was trying to do things, right? So I knew that I wanted to pay my truck off. I had only a couple of $1,000s left to pay on it. I had gotten money out of, the situation and everything. And so I had sat down, and I'm a big numbers guy, right? I love Excel. I love being able to calculate things. I mean, it's kind of my baby. It helps ease the anxiety of things for me and kind of helps me move forward. And so I had decided, hey, the one thing that's holding me back right now is my truck payment, right? If I can pay my truck off, then I can make less money somewhere else and go try to be and apply the person that I want to be, right? If that makes sense. Now, the person that I wanted to be was more free, and I'm going to get into that a little bit, right? Because I'm still kind of in that discovery phase right now. And so moved home and, was applying for jobs. I traveled all summer. Or I guess I say that kind of offhandedly, right? I was traveling pretty much all of July, right? I was doing podcast networking events. So I was at the Eberly Stock Out There event, which was an absolute riot and kind of validating in some of the things that I was feeling, right? Where I was talking to some of these folks, very real term, like Caleb, which I interviewed recently. Caleb, I was talking to him, and he's an amazing human in general, right? And I was talking to Cole and Tier and a couple other folks, and, they were like, yeah, the best thing right now is kind of just get out, right? Get out of, it was implied, but get out of your comfort zone and go be something, right? Be who you are, right? Which sounds very woo-woo, but we're going to get into it a little bit, in a second. So, traveled, I went up to Montana. I'd originally wanted to move to Montana. That was my hope, is that I could land some sort of either remote job or sweet talk my employer into letting me work remote, so that I could go to Montana, but there really wasn't anything work-related in my particular field for me, right? I've got a degree in economics, and most of my experience is in supply chain operations and manufacturing on, like, the technology front. So, moving out into BFE, Montana was a challenge, right? So I ended up coming back. I linked up with Creighton, who, again, amazing human, right? And I kind of talked to him. I was like, yeah, dude, I'm, fixing to move. Like, I want to get out of this place. I want to do these things, and kind of feeling stuck. And it's all kind of funny because it's the same thing, right? Where people are like, you need to do what's right for you. So he taught me to fish a little bit. I drove around all over Montana, which, is someplace I definitely want to move back to because it is beautiful and there are way fewer people. It is spectacular. And, so came back home, went backpacking and stuff, and decided that, I needed to keep looking for jobs. I needed to do something for me outside my comfort zone that gave me the ability to go kind of be my own person. So I'd applied to a couple other technology jobs and everything to kind of get out and, stay within my lane, I guess you could say. But nothing panned out, actually, let alone really kind of sang to my soul, I guess you could say. So I was pretty discouraged, but I dropped in 2 applications to Black Rifle. Of all places, they've got a growing IT department. Like I said, a lot of my experiences in operations and supply chain manufacturing, and so ended up kind of getting the job of my dreams, where I would go work in the industry that I love, right? I love the outdoors. I love the people. I love the culture of it all, while still applying a lot of my work experience, right? So I ended up moving down to Salt Lake. This happened like fast. Between first interaction with Black Rifle to getting hired on was about 2 weeks. And then, I took 2 weeks off of work, gave my former employer 2 weeks, took another 2 weeks to kind of move down because I literally came down to Salt Lake with nothing. I towed my motorcycle. I brought a chair that my dad gave me because it was the comfiest thing I could sleep in, which is really funny. That's a story in and of itself. and my clothes. And I mean, really, that was all I came down with. I mean, I didn't have any furniture, so there was a bunch of Amazon boxes waiting when I got down here. But before I kind of continue, what I learned from this experience, right, and it's going to kind of continue on, is that you just have to start doing things. And I know that I've written kind of at least one blog post and a couple Instagram posts, but you just have to start doing something. And I have heard this from almost all of the folks I've interviewed in some way, shape, or form, is that A, you have to take care of yourself, right? You cannot be too proud to get the help that you need. But then also, what is more important, right, is that you have to just start doing those things. And this was something that was very, very, very difficult for me, and it still kind of is to a certain extent, where if there is something that you feel like you want to go do or want to go try or that you need to go do, you have to just start. And you are the only person that is responsible for doing that. Nobody in this fucking world gives a shit about whether or not you want to do something, right? Because they're all doing their own thing, let alone, like, they're all drowning in whatever it is that they think that they want to do. So you're responsible for getting after it your own self, which sounds ridiculous and very harsh and a little crass. But, I mean, nobody was helping me get this job, right? I sent out a couple of notes after I applied and had my first interview. I could have asked people to have helped me move, right? I could have made phone calls. I sent a couple messages out, but I don't know what came of it, right? But, I mean, you just have to start doing things on your own. Now, that's the caveat, right? There's a caveat, is that you will eventually, as you start there, you will likely start things alone. And that is okay, right? Now, caveats to everything, and I'm just thinking kind of in a one-track mind right now, right? But as you start those things, you will find folks that want to do them with you. You will find folks that are doing them already that will let you join them, right? And that is insane, because then you find friends, right? You find support. You find growth, right? And then you start to realize, well, fuck, if I can do X, then what's to keep me from doing Y? And then starting back over and doing A and B and C and trying all these new things and maximizing what it is that you want to get out of life. But the hard part that I am learning is that you just have to fucking start, right? You want to start going to the gym at 5 a.m., right? I don't like doing that. Well, I have a couple of coworkers that call me every morning now, 5 a.m. I start going to the gym. You know what that means? I have more free time in the evenings to go on a date, to go to dinner, to go to the range, right? I don't know, maybe play the fucking harmonica, because I went to a concert with my cousin and her husband a couple of weeks ago, and the harmonica dude was legit, right? You just have to start doing things, because then you will find friends, the community, the accountability, right? Start reaching out to folks for suggestions on how to start. One thing that I want to start doing on the weekends, this is going to be way left field, is I want to start working on a ranch, right? Or a farm on the weekends, right? I work a desk job and I go to the gym, and like I do kind of my fun stuff on the weekends, you know, as I make plans or actively do it. But there are a lot of things, hard working things that I don't know how to do that I would like to go learn, right? I would like to show up at 4 o'clock in the morning and say, teach me. I don't really know anything. I got gloves. I got boots. I'll be here as long as you need me. I'll sleep in my fucking truck if you need it, right? Like, I feel like that's something that I am learning, that you can start reaching out to people to get plugged into, if it is something that you can't and or don't know how to start alone, right? Now, going to the gym, right, you can do that solo, right? You can hit YouTube University. You can figure out a couple of routines. You can subscribe to programs. You're the only person that's responsible for holding yourself accountable, unless you're getting coaches, unless you've got family or friends that are holding you to it, right? You can start to learn to play an instrument, right? Well, again, you're the only person that's responsible for starting that, right? If I were to go sign you up for guitar lessons, right, you're, again, the only person that's responsible for getting after it and making those lessons, right? So that's something that I've learned that's kind of weird to say out loud, but like, you know, I don't know. There's just so many things in this world that I still want to go try and do that I can't let the fear of it hold me back from trying, right? Let alone sometimes, like, within reason, within, you know, obvious responsibility, right? It's okay to spend a little bit of money to go have fun, right? I wanted to go duck hunting. Never been duck hunting. I don't have waders, didn't have a semi-auto shotgun, you know, bought those things. hurt for a little bit. But I've gone out a couple of times, haven't really shot anything, let alone fucking seen anything because it's cold as shit down here in Utah. But I've started to go, and it's been fun because I've made a buddy while doing it, right? One of the guys I work with, I think we'll probably go after the new year, right? But it's just kind of those things where it's like expressing interest, right, is one thing. Being able to go do it solo is another, but then also finding the community to go join in on, I think is what is ultimately the most interesting. Because some of the best people I have ever met have come from me trying something new, being a little ignorant to it, right, and asking them to share. And those are the people that I look up to. So I would say that that's probably the biggest thing that I've learned so far, I feel like I'm saying let alone a lot. But also doing what you need to make yourself happy, to make yourself right in between the ears, and then support yourself, because ultimately you supporting yourself should support others, right? I feel like there is a certain extent where you can't quite support others if you're not supporting yourself, right? And I don't know how I feel about saying that out loud because it sounds very selfish. But I feel like by being the happiest version of you, you are capable of supporting others. And that's something that I've learned, am learning, right, is kind of as I start dating, right? As I start really getting into dating and like understanding how this fucking world works again, right? I'm learning that you can't make other people happy. And I say that because you can lead a horse to water, but you can't get it to drink. And it is not my responsibility to help make you happy. My responsibility is to support you in making that happen, right? Whatever passion, pursuit that you have, I feel like that is my purview is to support, not to create that happiness. So kind of coming full circle, right? I think that as an individual, if I can kind of figure out the things that make me happy, that I know that I can kind of come back to understand who I am, and where it is that I'm trying to take my life, then I can use that as my grounding state to support you, or you kind of being in like the partner sense, the friend sense, the homie, the family sense, right, to go do those things too. Because I recently heard someone, I think it was a Dan Cummins podcast, where they were talking about how it is so exciting to see somebody do something they love and enjoy it, because then you're happy for them, right? I kind of think that that's very much the same thing that I'm thinking about right now. And again, this is not a very structured thought, right? But really what I'm thinking of is, right, if it's just something for me to fall back on as I continue to help you and or support you. And if you have those things that you can fall back on that make you happy, then I can support you in those things too, right? So it's kind of a mutually beneficial relationship, but not a truly symbiotic relationship, if that makes sense. So all that to say, now that I've moved down to Utah, right, I've kind of taken some of these things where, just start. I'm responsible for my own happiness. I need to take care of myself. I need to kind of find the things that I'm, most passionate about, and what it is that I would like to get out of life is kind of the current state that I feel like I'm in right now. So, I've taken a lot of these things, the community aspect of it, and started to reach out to folks just to start building kind of my network in this area to figure out who it is that I would like to be and who I am and what really makes me feel like I am most at home. Is kind of the state that I'm at now. And it is very tough because, I don't know anybody down here, right? So everything right now still feels very new, very fresh. I mean, obviously the grocery store is something that is kind of a constant, and the gym is a bit of a constant at this point, and obviously work, right? But it's like, hey, on the weekends, I don't have the same group of friends necessarily that I'm hanging out with. I'm starting to get there, but it's like, hey, do I really just want to go dancing every Friday and Saturday night? Is that who I want to be? Do I want to wake up every single Saturday and Sunday morning to go look for coyotes in the same spots? Do I want to be looking for, work on the side? Do I want to be learning something new? Where do I see myself in 5 years? Right? Is this a place I want to have a family? Am I even ready to start dating again? Do I really feel like I'm capable of having a girlfriend and it be like meaningful at this point, right? So I've been starting to ask these questions, but as I do that, right, and as I kind of pursue like these next things, right, I'm not trying to tell myself no as often. And I'm not doing it irresponsibly, right? But I'm like not saying no to new experiences, right? Like, hey, do you want to try swing dancing? Fuck, let's try it. Hey, go try this thing out in this spot. Use this call pattern to see if you can't get coyotes, right? Okay, cool. I want to try maybe, working on a ranch. Okay, well, nobody's like going to just ask some dude that doesn't have any fucking experience to come help them, right? Cool. I'm going to start reaching out and I'm going to get told no. I was told no last night. Hey, time schedule doesn't work out. I don't really need you right now. I'll keep your number, but I'm trying, right? And it sucks because like you kind of just want everything to work out all the time, but it doesn't, right? That doesn't mean that I can't keep trying, and that doesn't necessarily mean that a new opportunity that is in a parallel lane won't come up, right? So let's say, and I'm thinking out loud and just kind of validating myself and trying to keep myself in good spirits, right, is, okay, cool, let's just say next weekend I'm going home for Christmas. The week after is fucking New Year's, right? Let's say the weekend, New Year's weekend, I'm out coyote hunting and I get a phone call and it's the dude that I called yesterday. Hey, man, I still don't need you. Person, B over at, his fucking cattle ranch needs you. You're shoveling shit, but it'll be a good way to get started, right? I'd be like, fuck it, let's do it, right? There's so many things to go learn, right? That was something that I was taught growing up, right, is that you treat everybody with the same level of respect from the janitor to the CEO, right? And the reason for that is, one, you never know who you'll end up working for in the long run, right? And then B, you'll never know what you can learn from each of those individuals, right? They might not make sense at the time. They might not be applicable at the time, but there is always something to be learned, which is the thing that I love most, I think, about this podcast, is that I always learn something from the folks that I interview, regardless of who they are, where they came from, or what they've done. So I've talked for like 25 minutes now, but really I think that those are really kind of the big things that have stuck out to me over the past year and a half, particularly in practice over the past 6 months, is that you need to just start, build your community, right? Maybe I'm not going to skip over that because I'm thinking about it now. The community that you build is what will push you forward, allow you to fall back on, and give you the motivation and encouragement that you need, right? Even if they are not in the same lane that you are trying to pursue, right? So what I mean by that is I'm going to use the Until Death Collective kind of group of people because I actually messaged Ashley a couple of weeks ago. I would say that they are probably a very good embodiment of what community means to me because, and they are very specific to, I'm going to say, athleticism to a certain extent, right? And when I think of Until Death, I think of them as a group of people that have separate tracks of passions, right? Whether that's skydiving, cowboying, ranching, surfing, skateboarding, or fitness or whatever, right? They still get together and communicate with one another to encourage each other to get their goals accomplished and maintain a true north path, if that makes sense. And so even if you find friends that are not within the same scope of what it is that you're pursuing, be honest and filled with integrity with them, because if you can fill them up with your passion and pursuit, they will fill you with theirs, and they will help support you and vice versa, regardless of, a win or a loss. And they will also act as a sounding board for a sanity check and potentially help guide you in whatever path that you want as well. So like I reached out to Ashley a couple weeks ago with an idea, and I was like, hey, I don't know if this is a fucking crazy idea or not. I don't even know if it's like worth asking. can I bounce it off of you? Sure enough, she gave me some good feedback. I ran with the idea, and I was very thankful for it, right? So that's kind of what I'm getting at, too, is having that community to help keep you motivated, on track, not lost, I think is important, right? Now, I don't really have a firm community so much as just individuals that I can poke on occasionally. I think that that's a fault of my own. But regardless, I think that having people that you can poke on, to ask for guidance, whether, that's a group of friends, a counselor, a therapist, right, that you can get help on, is worthwhile, honestly. I mean, my best friend Tucker, a couple of weeks ago, I hit a rut, and I was like, I'm fucking tired all the time. I'm not doing anything. I hate everything. I live in a city, and I fucking hate Gen Pop, this is terrible. And he's like, dude, you got to fall back on the things that you enjoy. When was the last time you went shooting? When was the last time you went camping? When was the last time you went for a hike? And I was like, fuck if I know, dude. I have no idea. And so I kind of went on a binge, and I was out regularly. And after that, it felt revitalized. But it's having people know you from the inside out to help kind of course correct. So let's see here. So I talked about just doing it, having the sense of ownership, being willing to kind of start and fail and be told no, and a sense of community. And I think that of all of those things, all of the things that I've talked about, those are the general tropes that I've picked up so far from the 100-ish interviews that I've had. And I think that to sum those up, in some way, shape, or form, I've been trying to apply them in my daily life. And, I again, try. I'm not fucking perfect at it. These are things that I wish that I could embody through and through, right? I really do. And I wish you could see my little smirk on my face, because I'm like, I do my best. I try to go be out and be a bit of a yes man responsibly and healthfully, and doing what I can to make sure that I'm living life, because I know that I wrote about this a couple of weeks ago, but, death's coming sooner rather than later, and one of the things I want out of life is being able to tell us or live a life we're telling a story about, right? And I don't know if that sounds fucking terrible or not, but I don't want to just be an IT guy that goes to work and goes to the gym and shoots guns, right? I want to have tried so many different things and have found, the meaning of life, I guess, right? In some way, shape, or form, to have lived something holy. And, like this weekend, maybe that means just sleeping a little bit, because I've been going hard. I went to the gym 8 times last week, because I'm trying to lose weight. So, yeah, all that to say, this episode really wasn't designed to be super well thought out. It's more of a condensed version of, what things have looked like for me in a very small way over the past couple of months. Share some of the things that I've learned, but I'm super excited for 2023. I'll be back with episodes. I'm going to start sending notes out probably this week to get interviews scheduled. And then after SHOT Show, so if y'all are at SHOT Show, please send me a note. I'd love to come shake your hand, give you a hug, whatever. I'm a big hugger. I love hugs, especially good, solid ones. But otherwise, I'll be back probably mid to late January. Follow me on the Instagram to stay up to date. That's kind of where I'll be active throughout the next couple of weeks, the winter time, getting into some trouble, hopefully. Don't tell my mom. But otherwise, that's kind of all I've got for you guys today. But I hope you all have a wonderful Christmas, a wonderful New Year's, and hopefully I'll see you at SHOT Show. Stay healthy, have fun, tear it up, and we'll see y'all here soon.